Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. I am your host this evening, Dorothy Odell, and I just want to give a shout out to our first sponsor of tonight's show. Did you know that doTERRA essential oils can help support the body physically, mentally, and emotionally to help you achieve optimal health? Aromatherapy is a very powerful tool, and for more information, definitely get a hold of our friend Bonnie Herb at 810-414-0929 or go to her website www.beoilywithbonnie.com. All right, I'm super excited because I have the distinct pleasure of bringing to the stage Dr. Charlie. Hey, Dr. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm fine, Dorothy. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so looking forward to our conversation.
I know our first conversation was amazing, and I know this is going to be equally amazing, if not more so.
Yeah.
Uh, so, for those people that don't know who you are just yet, tell us a little bit about who you are, what it is you do. First of all, we'll start with that.
Okay. I'm Dr. Charlie Barton, and what I do is I help professional service firms and manufacturers align their vision, mission, and values with their processes and systems so that they are profitable in a sustainable way.
Wow,
And I
and
do it in a fun way too. It's
I,
not
I was going to say that sounds like a mouthful, and I'm not really sure, but we'll break that down on a little bit here.
okay.
And so, since this is, being unstoppable and everything like that, what would you say is your overcoming story? What have you had to do to get to where you're at today to overcome?
My overcoming story is that 23 years ago, after 16 years of marriage, I had two small children, toddler sized, and a divorce. I had never been able to finish my education, and I thought I would always be a secretary. I had been writing for years, but no degree, you're relegated to a secretary. Locally, then we got DSL, and I was able to go to school and finish my undergrad degree. But there's a lot of 40-ish women with a bachelor's. So I went and finished up my MBA so that I could help the CFO of my company understand why training people actually was positive on the bottom line. They're very involved in quality assurance activities, business improvement. I thought it was a no-brainer. I did a minor in knowledge management systems, and I had a sweet talking professor who said, you've got most of a PhD, girl. Finish it. So 8.5 years later,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I finished my PhD, so I have an MBA, so I understand money. I know where that rubber meets the road. But my PhD work has actually helped change the conversation globally. I'm very proud when I check my numbers and I find 500 plus downloads for the Philippines. I can only surmise they're using it for a textbook because really it's not a page turning bestseller and you cannot lose it that many times. So, yeah.
That is so awesome. And way to go, turning that lemon into lemonade, as they say, and I don't think divorce is the end of the world, but sometimes when you're going through it, it sure feels like it, right? And you feel like
Yes.
life is over and oh my God, what am I going to do with two toddlers by myself? And I think I give amazing kudos to single moms out there because I know that I could never do that.
Well, thank you. I
And
had a
that's
lot of
probably
support and help.
that's probably why I never became a mother myself. I mean, I'm a stepmom now. I help my husband with his 11-year-old son, but it's just, I've seen my friends who were single moms that were struggling, and I'm like, man, like I struggled enough as a kid. I don't want to do that and then bring in a kid into that. So kudos for you for figuring it out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So getting back to what you do, like break that down for us a little bit more because that sounds like it's for me it just like went over my head. So I'm and I'm
Certainly.
I
Mm,
I can figure things out pretty quickly, but I just like let's break it down
okay.
and how you help your clients.
So every business, every organization is composed of systems. Common systems are leadership or workforce or operations or supply. And what I do is I help them look at those systems because businesses often have a mission statement, Dorothy. They're like, we are going to help people, do this amazing thing.
Mhm.
They have a vision, which is why they want to do it. We want to help people do this amazing thing because it will make the world a better place.
Right.
And their values is how they're going to do it. And to me, values are the skeleton that everything else hangs off of, because when you align your values with your vision, you can then define your mission.
Mhm.
So if you're wondering why you're bleeding money, which is very common, waste is extraordinarily common. Just go and look in the supply closet and see how many reams of paper that you don't use anymore, or pens, or how often do you ask someone in your company, oh, it'll only take 5 minutes, you can fix it. But when you add those little increments up, you're bleeding money off the table. So
Right.
what I do is I help them see these forms of waste. We look at, do you have documentation? Uh, Sometimes, everybody's laying off people, so I guess I have to lay off people. And, one common way to do it is to get rid of the people who are paid in a certain pay bracket. Unfortunately, sometimes those people are the tribal knowledge of why you can get things done. And
Mhm.
you may end up hiring them back if they'll come back. So before decisions like that get made, I help people understand where everyone fits in the matrix of their organization. And I do it in a
Mhm.
fun way. Process improvement is traditionally the province of consultants. I'm a coach because I meet you where you are,
Mhm.
um, and engineers. Uh,
Right.
There's a lot of cool tools out there. I'm going to show you which ones to use that fit your culture. There's a lot of different ways to get to the same endpoint. So think of
I
it like
love that.
the different kinds of ball games you can play with a round ball. We got basketball, we got kickball, we got soccer, we got water polo. I just do the same thing with process improvement and tools.
Cool. I love that. So people must really love you by the time you're done. You go in there, you take a mess, and you know, straighten out their mess. So I love that.
Thank you.
Absolutely love that.
My clients have fun. I have several neurodivergent clients, who they read the books, they listen to the things, but we sit down and talk about how what they're looking for, how this tool works in terms of their needs. One of my clients owns a event company. And during our first meetings, I had her write up for an entire year a list of things to do. We whacked it out in 3 months.
Wow.
Because we looked at her values, we looked at what she was doing, we documented stuff. She found out where she was doing the same thing over and over and over. She found out where she could delegate to her staff instead of doing it, so that freed her up to do, you know, more business development. So it was a lot of fun. She sat back at our quarterly thing and she's like, "Oh my God, that was a year. What am I going to do for the other 9 months?" We figured it out.
Rest or fix the next problem, one or the other.
Expanding at that point, was really her next big goal. So, what does it look like when you add staff?
Right.
How do you keep that continuity? How do you train people to be mini me's in a good way? Yeah.
Right. Right. I love that. And so, what would you think you'd say that has been the biggest struggle with getting your clients to do? You put this proposal together. Was what is the biggest struggle that you or hurdle that you've had to overcome to help them realize that wait a minute, this is it. Like you need to do this.
We get into routines and ruts. It's always been done that way. And it can be particularly challenging when there's been several changes of staff leadership, because normal is what you grew up with. So
Mhm.
this is the normal way of working, because when that person came in or they took over their team, they saw the Band-Aid as the normal way of doing things. And it wasn't until we mapped things out. One of my clients is an attorney. he has a staff. Attorneys, they're not cheap. And he was doing intake. And it's like, yo, dude, why are you doing intake? That's not an attorney thing. But it turned out, because of communication issues, someone who is not an attorney who gives legal advice is in a whole bunch of trouble. So staff didn't know where those guardrails were. So I worked with them to map out their litigation, from intake to actually being in the courtroom and finalizing, all of the things that do. And we identified the points that he had to be involved in. And we also identified where the interns could come in and do some of that legwork, so it let his staff do other forms of work. By the time the engagement was over, his staff knew exactly what they were supposed to do. Interns were not sitting in a corner going, and he was able to take on more work of the kind that he liked.
Right. I love that because I've heard all about like sometimes automating different things as well, and by automating the stuff that no one, I'm not going to say cares about, but that is monotonous and mind numbing. By doing that, it actually makes your staff more efficient. Um, and I could see where a lot of companies would benefit from that, but they're so scared to say, no, wait a minute, we got to have a human touch to this and something instead of completely automating. So what are your thoughts on that?
Automation is a wonderful tool. Some of us are old enough to remember manual typewriters and carbons, because the carbons came along because it was much more time efficient to have your blank and your original. We moved into word processors of 80 characters. We moved into word processing machines like the Wang. And now today, we can talk to our computers. No keyboarding skills necessary. And those are good things. The challenge with automation is the back-end documentation. Why is something being automated? And a lot of times in the joy, the new shiny to automate this, the questions being asked are, why are you automating it? Well, we want to save time. What happens if the automation breaks? Depending on your industry, what are the cybersecurity issues? I often talk with my clients about cybersecurity issues. It's like, do you have cybersecurity insurance? Who can see your data? Oh, I put it in the cloud. Are you using a virtual private network to put it in the cloud? Who sees these things? I've been doing tech since just after DARPA. So while I'm not, a programmer anymore, I do remember those days. And I don't miss them at all. But it helps them think through. There are things that I automate. But a good way to look at that is to create a workflow. And as you look at your workflow, it shows you how something moves through your organization, and you can see where automating it, either in-house or using a third-party software, could be beneficial. But if it breaks, or if that third party is hacked, what are you going to do?
So it's like having your backup for your backup for your backup. So,
Yes. I have a colleague who unfortunately was called in to a local company that had been ransomwared. He had gone in 6 months prior and said, you are vulnerable in these fashions. You need to unplug your backup, the server, literally unplug it every night, the backup server. Unfortunately, that's not my job. I don't want to do it. I want to go home. For whatever reason, none of that happened. They had been watched for quite some time, and the criminals came in, and they knew, because they had been watching the financials, exactly how much that company could pay. And they came in, locked everything up, wiped up the backups and everything. Of course, given a crime of that scale, the FBI and everyone was involved. My colleague was involved. But, that company was literally dead in the water for several weeks until everything got straightened out.
right. Wow.
So helping my clients think through what if scenarios is a very big part of process improvement, because I'm into sustainable long-term performance for your company. We're
Right.
partners, we're collaborators. I want
Right.
you to succeed and
I
have fun
love
doing
that.
it.
Right. The fun is the best part. If it's not fun, I don't want anything to do with it. I
Yeah,
totally get it.
yeah.
I'm just going to take one moment here for our sponsor here first. And oops. All right. There we go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you tired of feeling stuck in your career or business? Are you ready to unlock your full potential and accomplish your goals with compounding growth so that you can live your life like it's a walk on the beach? Then listen up. I have some exciting news for you. Today's livecast is sponsored by the Left Foot Coach, an innovative entrepreneurial venture partner that will take your income and self expression to the next level. With his established 5 pillar methodology, the Left Foot Coach can help you build a solid foundation for success and expand your full potential. As a venture growth coach, the Left Foot Coach is dedicated to partnering with you and your established business to help you grow your income and achieve your goals. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a professional looking to take your career to the next level, the Left Foot Coach can provide you with support, guidance, and resources you need to succeed. If you're ready to unlock your full potential and achieve your dreams, then schedule your free 30-minute inquiry call right now. And trust me, as a client who's experienced growth, with his interventions, you definitely will not regret it. So all you have to do is go to the calendly.com /XIN left /30-minute month equals 2023-05 and book your call today. I love that you said that, Dr. Charlie. We left off with fun, and I believe that a lot of business owners and um, a lot of people, in whether you're a business owner or whether you're an employee, like the fun has been sucked out of everything. And so bringing the fun back into that, especially
Mhm.
as a business owner, as business owners, we have all the responsibility falls on our shoulders. And how do you get that back? So when you say you're having fun with your clients, tell me a little bit more about that. What is it that you like to do to add the fun while you're working with your client?
Franken tools. Um, when people get a certification like a certified quality auditor or an engineer or, project management, in order to pass the test, you have to do it and answer the questions in the book, right?
Hmm.
But once you have that certification, there's nothing that says that you cannot mix different elements of tools because your problems are unique. I taught a 1 hour seminar on Franken tools to a American Society for Quality chapter back in October, and we called it Franken tools because of Halloween. And what I did is I showed them how to take 3 common tools: Plan, Do, Check, Act, Ishikawa's fishbone, and a decision tree to actually solve a problem. And what it does is it helps people say, well, um, I don't have this particular tool in my house or my business, but this, if I take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and another thing, I can do these problem solving. Often when organizations, they bring everybody in for a root cause analysis,
Hmm.
RCA. Those of us remember Victrola, we're like, oh yeah, root cause analysis. Um, they have people who are engineers and they're talking at this million-mile level, whereas the guys who are actually writing the checks are like bored out of their tears and surfing and doing stuff. But engaging the people who actually pay your bills in a conversation through a tool like a decision tree, and using Kipling's 5 serving men: who, what, when, where, how, and why, you can actually collaborate on a solution that everyone buys into. And you can have a lot of fun doing that.
Hmm.
It also removes the blame game. Well, we lost the job because, Dr. Charlie left the hangar door open and the rain came in. Well, maybe the hangar door was left open because the motor was broken. Well, why was the motor broken? Oh, because nothing had been put into the a PM hadn't been done, preventative maintenance. Well, why hadn't preventative maintenance been done? It was because we don't have a preventative maintenance program. We just run our machines till they break. And it is frustrating how often most companies do not have any kind of preventative maintenance program. Professional service firms are terrible about it. When was the last time that you backed up and cleaned up your computer, Dorothy?
Good question. Well, funny you asked me that because I do have Dropbox. So I put all my important stuff onto my Dropbox and back it up onto that. So I cheat a little bit by
Oh, that's
using
good.
another tool.
But have you, shut down your system and took the spiders out of it?
No.
Yeah, the dust. Yeah. So, but cleaning our printers, the common tools that we use around our offices. Manufacturing is often, tasked with, we have to run the machines, we got to produce. But actually, if you do not do your preventative maintenance, the machine will die. I
Right.
was working in a manufacturing plant. There was a machine, a guy didn't allow it to be taken down for preventative maintenance. He blew out all the production stats. He got promoted. The next person in the job, the machine is like, I've had enough, and absolutely crashed.
Mhm.
He was in a lot of trouble, and until I started looking at the surroundings, and I went to executive management and said, this machine is this way because you rewarded the behavior of running it past preventative maintenance. So to punish the man who came in to a broken machine is grossly unfair. It's against our core values. It's against our vision. Let's get it fixed. Let's move him over to a different machine until we get it fixed. And we need to fix the problem that PMs will be done no matter what. So
I love that.
yeah.
And sometimes, I think sometimes as a business owner, you like have tunnel vision, and that's why having somebody outside, a set of outside eyes come in and look at everything.
Mhm.
Because I know a company that in this one particular distribution center, like it has to be at a certain temperature. It has to
Mhm.
be there's commodities in there that need not freezing, but it needs to be cool.
Mhm.
And instead of having the proper equipment, the equipment is nowhere near what they should have. So spending $20,000 to $30,000 on repairs every 2 months instead of getting equipment in there that is what's needed, instead of putting a freaking band-aid on it, it drives me crazy. I see the repair bills of everything. I question every 2 months, like, why are we spending this obscene amount of money on these repairs all the time, on top of the preventative maintenance, on top of having consultants come out and look at this stuff on the regular? Like, why is that? And I get, well, the cooling system is not big enough to run the entire DC,
Mhm.
and so we're just using it, and but it's been brought to management's attention, and I'm thinking, okay, so how much more are we going to waste before somebody does their job properly and get the right equipment in? Like, and this is just somebody who is like a peon, seeing this, bringing it to management's attention, and still nothing done.
And you feel very demotivated. And if there are magic signs around the hallways and in the break room that says, we value our workforce and, and all of this, you're like, that disconnect between what we say and what we do is very jarring. One of the things I do is highlight issues like this. Are you really going to listen to your people? You've got to put your money where your mouth is. But if you do, amazing things could happen. One of a local company adopted the Baldrige Excellence Framework. It took them several years, but they had a paint booth. And if you know anything about paint booths, what you get out of it is a toxic solution. Well, one of the painters on the line said, boss, the company will buy this back and pay us for it. So I went from being a cost center to a revenue center.
Wow.
So, having your workforce trust you and listen to you, believe that you're going to listen for them. it added hundreds of thousands of dollars to his bottom line because he no longer had to dispose of highly toxic, highly regulated waste. He just sold it back to the company that sold him the paint. They took it back to their whatever machines, whipped out the thinners, whipped out the paint sediment, you know, put it in all in its magic little individual boxes, and now we have a virtuous cycle of what doesn't get used gets recycled. It's a circular economy instead of a linear economy.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And you're right. If management would take in at least even take into consideration what the employee is telling you, they will feel valued, right,
Mhm.
and appreciated. And it's funny because when I was supervisor at another place that I worked, I never told the guys what to do. I always asked them what to do. And
Mhm.
then I asked for their feedback. Is there a different way that you think we could do this job more efficiently or better, or things like that? And I always, I never had a problem with any of my employees when I was their supervisor. It was just like, it ran smoothly. Yes, Dorothy, what do you need? And things like that. And I, since then, I've worked at some different places that I just shake my head and I'm like, you pay me to give you this feedback and there's still nothing done. And it's just like, okay, at least I've told you, I've done my due diligence. What you do with it's up to you, but it doesn't make
Mhm.
me feel appreciated. That's for sure.
Yeah, and in that dichotomy between or you told me to do this thing, I've done this thing, but you don't see my input of value is very disheartening. I would suspect that your team would follow you to a very warm and place if you asked them to work overtime or spend a couple days doing stuff. They'd but, do we get coffee? And you're like, yeah, coffee, donuts, pizza, whatever, man. And they would go and do it for you.
Yeah.
Those are the best teams. The best companies are the ones where the executives see themselves as part of the workforce. Um, it's when you get that disconnect of the employees of the company are the hourlies, the middle managers, the waged managers, and the
Hmm.
executives are a whole nother thing. Those are the ones that have the biggest difficulty in learning how to shift
Hmm.
the way that they work.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and you can see that, and I can see that in different places where I've worked. It's just like
Mhm,
the people on the floor, you know, I think that management is so far above because that's how it's been portrayed. And,
mhm,
management has done nothing to change that.
right,
And so I was like, man, the culture could be so much different. I mean, instead of it being a revolving door, you, if you just appreciated the people that you did have,
mhm.
like life would be a lot easier, man.
Oh, yeah. A long time ago in companies, before we had all of these massive mergers, executives, no matter how, they start out in the mailroom.
Mhm.
They may have been paid, but they were started out in the mailroom and they spent 3 months or so, delivering mail. They actually got to meet the people who were doing the work. So when they were slotted in as managers over their own small teams, they knew how the company worked and who to go to. And those were not some kind of numbers. Oh, Department X has 47 people. We want to show good shareholder return. If we do these automations, we can do it with 35 people.
Yeah.
Um, and really, is that true? Is there? It's more than a numbers game. That numbers game can be manipulated and actually cause you to uh, lose money. Uh, Oscar Mayer several years ago was bought out by a company who went and sold the big Sears, the big buildings in Chicago and different places, and they put that money in a very good spot. They built factories near their distribution hubs that were state of the art. There's only one small problem. Um, they were making bologna and cotto salami and liverwurst. When's the last time that you ate bologna, Dorothy?
I was a kid.
Yeah. So when the thing came out for the luncheon meats, Black Forest ham, turkey breast, you know, the people working in those organizations couldn't tweak any more things because they were already running just in time and Lean Six Sigma and all the things. They had no more wheels to turn. They were just making the wrong product. But when it was set up, all the numbers said that this was good. What they didn't do was look at the broader scope of what was going on in their environment. And the people who got punished were the executives, engineers who couldn't deliver what the stockholders and the board wanted, but there were no more levers to pull.
Right.
It was just the wrong product. So a great way to be effective and go out of business.
Absolutely. Wow. That is, yeah, you nailed it with, like, I would say 80% of the companies that are out there, right? If they
Mhm.
would just listen and look at the right things, and they're,
Mhm.
and not everything is all about numbers. I've learned
No,
that. Absolutely, I've learned that. Wow. Well, I can't believe the half hour's up. That went by really quickly.
it did. And I need to make a correction. It's being efficienting yourself out of business, and an effective business has slack in it. That way you don't get some of the supply chain problems like we experienced during COVID
Right.
because we
Well,
had
there's still supply chain issues.
Yes.
Well, especially here in Canada. I went to Costco last night to go get my prescription, and she says I'm gonna have to put it in a big bag because I don't have any more small bags left. I'm like, oh, supply and demand,
And
right?
waste now because all the things that went into making that big bag that, yeah. So that's a whole nother thing about removing waste and looking at waste in a company. So thank you so much for having me as your guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all of our people that have been watching us tonight, and the people on the replay. Don't forget, guys, we are on Roku. So check us out on our Roku channel, Unstoppable Overcomers. And if, the podcast is your jam, check us out on Spotify. Give us give us the jingle over there. Definitely subscribe to our channels, leave a review. And thank you so much, Dr. Shirley, for being our guest tonight. So appreciate you. And definitely if somebody wants to get a hold of you and say, wait a minute, I need you in my company right now to help us change things around, where's the best place for them to reach you?
The best way to reach me quickly is to email me at drcharlie@tpidr.com.
Perfect. And that I did put in the show notes. So definitely get a hold of Dr. Charlie today. Get your company back on the right track. Get your employees happy. Get you happy. Get your bottom line happy. Get everybody happy and have fun while they're
That
doing
is good.
that.
Yeah.
Fun is absolutely good. And don't forget, guys, same time, same channel next week. And bye for now.